Hello everyone, social coach Michael Knight here, and today we'll be discussing why everyone seems so angry, miserable, and ticked off as of late. The main reason why I started this channel was to explain the core principles behind social dynamics and help individuals develop their social skills, since the lack of these soft skills can completely hamper the success of a person in both their professional and personal life, who otherwise is incredibly hardworking and intelligent. However, with the world currently going crazy, I keep finding myself getting pulled up into the macro level of social interactions. The reason being that our media and institutions are all actively promoting ideologies, which if they're adopted by a person, will be detrimental to their success. I'm afraid that if people keep consuming these ideas, that within just a few more years, upcoming generations will be left so far behind when it comes to understanding true social dynamics that they will find their own lives completely unmanageable. However, this may very well be the goal of such actions, that is, to make people completely dependent upon others when it comes to managing their lives. If you've been tuning into the mainstream media, there is a lot of anger, finger-pointing, and blame going around, but barely any reference to the real underlying circumstances causing the issues. So, as with most of the things that I discuss, we're going to approach these issues from a first principles basis, because most of what's being shown to us is simply a choreographed puppet show, performed to distract us and redirect our frustration. We're being made to focus entirely on individual incendiary events rather than confronting the true source of an ongoing gas leak, an issue that, if it's not properly dealt with, will inevitably result in our house burning down. The outpouring of discontent that we see is primarily the result of growing inequality coupled with a meaning crisis. Throughout history, inequality has always been the source of social unrest. For 50 years since the early 1970s, there has been little growth of real income after adjusting for inflation, and this has been hidden from the public through the tweaking of data and increased borrowing from the future. So how does an individual, let alone a government, borrow wealth from the future? Well, we can start by simply reading off the categories of debt that are listed when you check your credit score online. Student loans for degrees that are not worth their investment, home mortgages or auto loans, which are disproportionate to their recipient's income, and of course credit card debt. In addition to these expenses, the cost of health insurance, childcare, and other basic necessities has also been increasing. For returns to continue to grow, while simultaneously compensating for the lack of real growth, the people at the top need to increasingly squeeze more wealth out of the people below them, putting these individuals into increased debt. The entire system is a pretty screwed up cycle, where the majority of money creation is actually a byproduct from the issuing of new debt, which continuously needs to be generated at lower and lower interest rates so that it can be used to pay back prior debts. And while the vast majority of people understandably do not comprehend the insanity of our financial system, they do intuitively feel that something is wrong and that they're somehow getting screwed. Their frustrations are further compounded due to their expectations not matching up to reality. People have been marketed and sold high expectations in order to get them to invest their time, effort, and money into things which they were promised would be rewarding. These expectations were not just financial, but also spiritual, ideological, and emotional. And people are starting to realize things such as that perhaps the debt that they took out for their college degree was not worth it, or that chasing the lifestyle promoted by their favorite influencer has just made them feel more empty inside. Modern society lacks many of the structures and systems in which people traditionally found meaning in their lives. This meaning vacuum in people's lives is now being filled by political and social ideologies looking for devoted foot soldiers that they can sacrifice for their own selfish causes. When you take away a person's source of meaning, as well as their ability to manifest their own unique meaning, they become at risk for harmful and self-destructive behavior. And this is what we're seeing in society at large, the desire to tear things down, coming as a result of people lacking the proper knowledge necessary for knowing how to make things better. People who are understandably frustrated are now only being led further astray by the same people who sold them lies and false promises in the first place. Just to clarify, I am a very pro-capitalist person, so pro-capitalist, in fact, that I believe in having a reasonable social safety net for the benefit of protecting a capitalist system, since if wealth inequality becomes too great, and not enough people have access to capital, then they may not be personally invested enough in the system to uphold it. This can lead to violent redistribution, followed by the disassembly of the very mechanisms that are required to generate prosperity, thus resulting in the vast majority of people becoming worse off over time. Furthermore, common replacements for capitalism are often incompatible with basic human nature, a consequence that ruling authorities often solve via the removal of individuals deemed problematic, aka purges and genocide. Decades ago, there was a real threat from competing ideologies such as communism, and so there was a greater incentive to make sure that capitalism was working for everybody. However, as the perception of this threat subsided, we started caring less about how our own people were doing. This is akin to why we never went back to the moon. We won the competition and subsequently lost motivation. So to reiterate, the primary issue is that our entire society is built upon systems that require constant growth. And this growth has slowed to the point that even with massive borrowing from the future, our economic engine is looking like it's about to stall. With the entire pie no longer growing as fast as it once was, the rich now want to increase the size of their fraction to compensate. So with 90% of the wealth generated going to the top fraction of society, the remaining plebes are being turned against one another and told to fight over the shrinking fraction of what remains. All types of diversification are being done for the purpose of making things cheaper, with little investment towards national unity. Without the perception of an imminent external threat to unite a population, nations can become divided within, identity politics being the primary tool used to divide people. Social media further exacerbates division by exploiting the strong tribal emotions of anger, disgust, and hate in order to maximize revenue. Alright, so what's the solution to all this? I still think it's by far the best time to be alive, so if you're watching this video, then that means that you got an internet connection and thus you have the ability to learn everything you need to know. The difficult part will be curating through all the junk which is actively being thrown in your face. Avoid getting pulled into outdated legacy systems, which will try to maximally extract value from you in order to keep their Ponzi schemes afloat. Opt out of participating in screaming matches between groups, especially when neither side serves your purpose. Don't let others define your identity for you. You are free to grow and develop into a unique and better person. The knowledge that you have the ability to improve not only your own life, but the lives of others, is what can give it meaning. If you liked this video and are interested in learning more about how you can break free of social conditioning and take control of both your social life and life in general, then please hit the like button and subscribe. And those of you looking to specifically improve your social skills when it comes to attraction and dating, I recommend you check out my book linked to in the description below. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you again soon. Until next time, ciao.